Hollow Creek was the kind of place that stirred only in whispers, a name shared in cautionary tones. Few had ventured there and even fewer returned. But to Sam it was just another story, one of those tales that locals shared around fires and in dark corners. A folk tale. Nothing more. Yet, after months of hearing strange rumors and hushed warnings, his curiosity got the better of him. He was tired of his mundane life, eager for something that would break him free from the monotony. He packed his bags, resolved to discover the truth. He left the noise of the city behind, driving through endless stretches of empty highway until the landscape grew bleak and forlorn. The air seemed heavier, colder, and the trees along the road twisted like dark, gnarled hands reaching for the sky. After what felt like hours, Sam finally saw it, a sign reading Hollow Creek, 5 miles. He smirked, thinking how ridiculous it was that he had let rumors lead him here. There was no real danger in an old, forgotten village, right? He followed a narrow dirt road, the tires crunching against the gravel. The unease began to settle in, the trees closing in, and the last bits of sunlight fading from the sky. It felt as if something ancient weighed on the land, as though the earth itself carried a secret. And then he saw it, a stone wall, iron gates rusted with age. Beyond it, the village appeared, shrouded in darkness. The houses looked abandoned, forgotten by time. There were no streetlights, no movement, save for faint, shifting shapes in the distance. Sam parked his car by the gates, hesitating for a moment before stepping out. A heavy silence filled the air, broken only by the occasional gust of wind. He pushed open the gates and stepped into the village. The air tasted stale, oppressive. He tugged his jacket tighter around him, unsettled by the sensation that something was wrong. The village was smaller than he expected. Old houses stood in clusters along a single road. Their windows were dark, except for a few that flickered faintly with candlelight. There were no people, no children playing, no chatter. Just an eerie stillness that set his skin crawling. He walked deeper into the village, the sound of his footsteps echoing off the cobblestones. He passed a small chapel, its doors creaking in the wind. It seemed to warn him, but he ignored it, the air pushing him forward. As he ventured further, he noticed strange symbols carved into the houses, twisted faces, eyes, mouths, all grotesque figures that seemed to watch him. Finally he reached an old inn, its wooden sign swaying with a creaking sound. It read the Hollow Creek Inn. It was the only place that seemed to have any life, so he approached cautiously and opened the door. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of decay. The few patrons seated at the bar barely acknowledged him. The innkeeper, a gaunt man with dark circles under his eyes, stood behind the counter, polishing a glass with trembling hands. "Can I help you, traveler?" he asked in a voice that seemed too quiet, too still. "I'm just passing through. Thought I'd stay the night." The innkeeper's gaze flickered over him. "You'll find your room upstairs," he said slowly. "But be warned, people come and people leave, but the village never forgets." Sam raised an eyebrow but said nothing. "Thanks. I'll take my chances." The innkeeper nodded, eyes never leaving Sam's face before he turned away. Sam grabbed his bag and ascended the narrow staircase. The room was sparsely furnished, an old bed, a dresser, a window overlooking the village square. He set his things down and glanced outside. The village looked even more oppressive in the moonlight. The shadows seemed to stretch, twisting unnaturally. A feeling of dread clung to him, the silence unbearable. He lay in bed, but sleep eluded him. Every creak, every rustle in the wind made his heart race. Something wasn't right here. Around midnight, a sound broke through the stillness. A faint tapping, coming from somewhere outside his window. Sam jumped up and peered out, but there was nothing, just the empty square bathed in dim light. Then the tapping grew louder, closer. Sam's pulse quickened as he walked to the door. His hand hovered over the doorknob, but fear held him in place. A chill ran down his spine as the noise continued, relentless. Suddenly the door swung open on its own. Sam stepped back, his breath catching in his throat. There was nothing there, just a dark hallway leading to the stairs. He turned, preparing to leave, but then the sound came again, this time from behind him. He spun around. There, in the doorway, stood a figure. The figure was pale and gaunt, its skin stretched tight over its bones. Its face was hollow, with empty eyes and lips twisted into a grotesque smile. It took a slow step forward, its voice rasping, dry like dead leaves scraping stone. "Leave, now," it whispered. Sam froze. His mind screamed for him to run, but his legs betrayed him. The door slammed shut behind him with a deafening crash. The figure moved closer, its hands twisting into claws, its breath hot and fetid. Sam stumbled backward, his legs weak, his mind clouded with terror. There was nowhere to go. With a sickening crack, the figure's fingers curled into a claw and lunged. Sam screamed. The world around him seemed to go dark. When Sam woke, he was on the floor of the inn. His body was cold, his heart pounding. He bolted upright, looking frantically around the room. The figure was gone. Everything seemed normal again, too normal. Panicked, Sam rushed to the door and threw it open. But the village was no longer silent. Figures appeared, emerging from the shadows. Their faces were twisted like the figures, expressions vacant and emotionless. They moved in unison, their eyes fixed on him. Sam ran. The streets seemed to stretch and twist, the houses warping into grotesque shapes. No matter how fast he ran, the road never seemed to end. The village was alive with movement, figures closing in on him, their eyes unblinking, their mouths curling into twisted smiles. He turned a corner, desperate to escape, but the village bent around him. He was trapped in a nightmare. Then he heard it again, the rasping breath, the whispering voice. Sam turned to face the figure from his room. It stood at the end of the street, its pale eyes glinting in the darkness. "Welcome to Hollow Creek," it whispered, its smile widening. "You'll never leave." And as Sam turned to run, he understood. The village had no exit. Hollow Creek was a place that devoured the living, trapping them in its endless cycle. No one ever left.